Okay, riddle me this. What is the difference between a Fibonacci and 64,000 other members? There you go. 64,000. That's how many men are a part of the fathers' rights movement in Texas. That's just Texas alone, and this website's only been up for probably maybe a couple, 3 years. And, while it's kind of a cute meme to kind of say, hey, there's 64,000 guys that went through the civil system and we lost, and let's get on Facebook and let's complain and let's talk about how we need to elect the next politician who's going to defend our rights. And maybe this guy will support equal parenting, and I hope he will. But if I were to talk to this James White guy, oh, wait, you want music? Okay, let me play some music here for you. See, if I were to talk to this guy, here we go. That's what we want it, baby. We want money for nothing and our chicks for free. Okay, enough of the music. See, this is what happens. And this is the difference between a Fibonacci and the rest of the people. Because, see, if I were to talk to this James White guy, I would say, why don't we just enforce an existing law, which is Texas 2503, which is the epicenter. See, if Texas 2503, which is a criminal code, you can just Google it, Texas 2503 is about equality and that if you interfere with child custody, it could be a felony. And it's one of the most important laws in the state of Texas because it's affecting millions and millions of people. The problem is it's rarely enforced. So what happens is, in short, oh, you want some more music? You want some good news? Oh, you want everything for free? I get it, dude. So you could be 64,000 people. This is what happens. And I guess technically I'm a member of the 64,000 club because I went and I lost in a civil trial. And what's the difference between me, a Fibonacci, and the rest of the men out there is what I want to do is I want to say I'm going to change the system. I'm not going to lose my children in an unfair system where Texas 2503 is not enforced. I'm not going to lay down when federally protected statuses are denied. I'm not going to do that. I guess I'm going to be more Martin Luther King. So let me show you kind of why I'm pissed off today. I got an email today and it's really difficult for me to even talk about my trial, but one thing that I want to do is I want to help other men. This is an email I got. I'm going to leave his name off. At 3:35, I get this email and this guy, he goes, "Is this Fibonacci?" And he in his subject line, he says, "Father in need." And I just instantly knew it's just a guy that's in my situation. And basically what happens, he can't find a lawyer to represent him. He has 2 kids. He's trying to work a job. He's just a regular guy. He's about to join this movement. And isn't that cute? Isn't that funny? Well, I don't think it's funny that men are denied equality in civil trials. I don't think it is. I don't think it's funny that men lose their children because of false allegations. I don't think it's funny that men are extorted from. I don't think that's funny. And I think this number, if you really look at the number of people that this impacts, you're probably talking of millions and millions of people. Because just think about it. If there's 64,000 men in Texas that are part of a father's rights movement, this site's only been up for a couple, 3 years, and let's say that each father has 2 children, and this has been going on for 10 years, which we know it has, because Texas 2503, when did Texas 2503 become a law? So you're starting to see that the numbers of people that this affects are literally millions of people, and that's just Texas. So fathers and children, and these are families that are ripped up. These are lives that are destroyed. And if you really want to just look at statistics and look at numbers, well, you're like, okay, well, Fibonacci, I get your point. You're a father's rights guy. And you think, okay, so while I'm a member of this group, I want to be a part of the solution. And I think, unfortunately, some of the Facebook stuff is more about let's just kind of get together and complain. I'm like, no, let's get together and change the system. So what I did is I've put together kind of a father's right kit. And let me just kind of show you. This is a long email that I sent this guy. And I signed it, "Here's to you winning." And I said, take this seriously. If you're like most men, you'll look back and says, I should have taken what that Fibonacci guy said more seriously. And then I said, if you want to buy my father's rights kit and hire me to help me with your hearings, I could do that, but that's going to cost about 8 to 9 plus travel and expenses. And you can see that I'm talking to him about the reality of what he's going through. Look at this sentence here. It says, remember, lawyers truly work for the local judge, not you. This is me reading an email to this guy who emails me at 3 in the morning going, hey, John, Fibonacci, I need some help. And I'm telling him what I'm trying to tell you. And I'm saying simply 95% of the time, women will win in their custody dispute because of the way it's practiced. That women and the children are put into this sort of unit, and the courts say we have to help women and children at the expense of men. But the problem is there's not a narrative for bad women. I mean, what does it take for a woman to lose her children in a civil case? I know. I mean, in fact, if you want to see a really good example of the severity of how this is not just in Texas, it's in Colorado, go to the Durango Herald and Google Durango Herald, judge gives woman a cake. And literally a woman was in the process of committing homicide and killing her own children. And that court says we have to help this mom who's having a bad day in the middle of a homicide. So women don't lose their children in civil cases. Women are allowed to extort thousands and thousands of dollars from men. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can look at, there's all kinds of people that are talking about the father's rights movement, whether it's this Divorce Corp, it's a movie. It's talking about the business of a civil system. But most importantly, what can you do? If you're in Texas and you're in a civil case, the most important thing that I can encourage you to do is to understand the severity of the situation. And the fact is that it's very hard to find representation. And again, this is your family, so lawyers are going to say, hey, you just need to give in, give up. And that's what most men do, and they end up going here and they lose their families. And then we all know statistically what happens to children that are raised without fathers. I mean, just Google that research. Look what happens to girls that are raised without fathers. Google what happens to men who are raised without fathers. So that's what I want to do. And so how can I help? How can I take my pain and make it your prosperity? And that is, well, let me educate men so they don't lose. Remember, let me go back to my email. It says, lawyers truly work for the local judge, not you. Remember, the judge awards attorney fees. And the last thing lawyers want to do, let me go here to my sentence. The last thing most lawyers want to do is represent a man. They don't want to cite 2503. They don't want to bring in the local police chief and cite federally protected status. And they don't want to bring the local police chief under a federally protected status violations. Judges don't want to do that. So what do? They create a system that's sort of prearranged that men lose. So 2503 is never enforced. You can't have a hearing without a charge. You show up, you lose your kids, you lose 20, 30% of your income, and then guess what you get to do? You get to be a part of a Facebook club. And while I think this is important and it speaks to the severity of the situation, I want to be a part of the solution. So what can you do? You can hire me and buy my Father's Rights kit for $2,800. And in that, I'm going to educate you, because knowledge is power, over the things you need to do to vet your lawyer. And if you have a lawyer who's going to represent you, well, how do you know your lawyer is going to represent you? When you hold them to task with my Father's Rights kit. Like, for example, in my kit, I'm going to speak about 2503. I'm going to cite specific laws that your lawyer needs to bring to the case in front of the judge. And if your lawyer gives you static on 2503, if your lawyer gives you static on my kit, what do you know? You know that's not the lawyer for you. Let me close on this and say this. There are very few decisions you're going to make as a man that will affect you and your family for a longer period of time than your divorce. So therefore, you have to go into your divorce with priority one, and you need to be educated. So what am I going to do is I want to help educate men, buy my divorce kit for $2,800, vet your lawyer, because if you could avoid a bad lawyer, you could save a lot of problems. And in some cases, you can use my kit and do a better job yourself and put some of the salient facts on the record. And again, I can go into more detail if you want to email me. Go ahead and email me, Americana417@gmail.com. Of course, you can follow me at Fibonacci. There you go. Speaking of travel. So here's a couple things that I'm going to offer you. If you want to buy you can follow me at Fibonacci. Of course, I'm going to always talk about men's rights movements. It's going to be part of a passion of mine forever. Sort of my Oscar Schindler moment. If I can help, 1,000 men not lose their children, there's a huge benefit to that to me. If I can help 1,000 men go into their cases with the right lawyer. So again, kind of an Oscar Schindler moment. If you want to buy my Father's Rights Kit, it's $2,800. If you want me to attend your hearings, it's between $8,000 to $10,000. I really don't want to do the hearings just because it's more expensive, but secondly, it's something that I don't really want to do. So just buying the Father's Rights Kit for $2,800 will put 95% of the things that you need on the table. Again, I wanted to show you a real-life email that I got from a guy. His name's Jason, emailing me at 3 in the morning going, dude, what can you help me with? And his response to me after all this, was, he said to me what I would have said to me. He goes, I'm going to fight till my dying day. And what I want to say to him is like, dude, you're going to fight till your dying day, but you need to be prepared for your hearing. And he doesn't want to hear that. He wants someone to come in and save the day for him. And that's not going to happen. And I want to show you a real-life example of how men lose in their civil cases. They don't take them seriously. They hire the wrong lawyers. They go into those hearings unprepared, and they get decimated. And then what do? They join this club right here. And that's what I want to avoid. Knowledge is power. Going into your hearing with some salient facts, with some real stuff to vet your lawyer. I cannot begin to tell you the return on that investment. If you have any questions for me, email me at americana417@gmail.com. Obviously, follow me on Fibonacci, or just email me at americana417@gmail.com.